Hello and welcome to ID Week at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center in Massachusetts. Infectious diseases leaders from around the world are meeting here to address the world's toughest medical challenges.
Hello, my name is Natasha Halassa. I'm the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society ID Week Chair, and just wanted to say welcome to Boston, and I hope you have an awesome meeting. Thank you.
ID Week is a joint annual meeting of the Infectious Diseases Society of America, the Society for Healthcare Epidemiology of America, the HIV Medicine Association, the Pediatric Infectious Diseases Society, and the Society of Infectious Diseases Pharmacists.
Welcome to ID Week 2023. I'm Wendy Armstrong, the HIV/MA Program Chair, and you're watching ID Week TV.
I'm Katie Brace, and this is ID Week TV. Today, I'll be bringing you all the latest news and views on AI in infectious diseases, workforce development in infectious diseases, and the importance of mentorship. But first, conference highlights from the ID Week Chair, Dr. Heather Young. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Packed program for the entire week. Are you seeing any emerging themes we should look out for?
The program really highlights the diversity of subject matter material available in ID. But in terms of themes, we're certainly seeing a lot of AI-related content this year. Our opening plenary really is focused on that. And then actually climate change, I think, is another emerging theme that we're seeing a lot of this year. There was a lot of demand for it, actually, in the requests that people sent for programming. But I think that also our Late Breaker Symposium is likely to deal with climate change really in the wake of the hottest summer we've seen in the Northern Hemisphere ever. So.
Yes. So is there any particular session that has really sparked your interest?
Well, it's a little unfair for me to say what's my favorite session because I'm the chair and we prepared this beautiful feast for the last year really for everyone to enjoy. But I do think that both the opening and the closing plenary will be can't-miss sessions. I already really highlighted the opening plenary. Artificial intelligence is something that really none of us were trained in our fellowships. So we're really all beginners here, but I think it's important for all of us to gain as much facility with the subject material as we can if we're going to be forward-leaning, which we have to be. And then the closing plenary really is a look at PEPFAR and what 20 years of PEPFAR has really accomplished. This is another timely topic, obviously, but we will also see some PEPFAR-related content throughout the program as it really has been a platform for capacity building in public health for the last 20 years.
So you touched on kind of three topics. There's a lot out there on the floor. What are some events and activities that folks can expect?
You know, aside from all of the typical content, we're excited to have our first escape room at ID Week this year, so Outbreak. And I can't give any spoilers because I haven't gone through it yet, but we're excited about that. We're excited about Bug Bowl, as always. We included Bug Hub programming this year, which is a relatively new format for ID Week, but really explores a lot more of the humanities aspects of ID and just personal narratives, which I'm excited about. And then just for fun, we also have puppies this year at ID Week.
Real puppies?
Real, actual puppies. So if you need a wellness event and you've already taken 5 days off of work to come out here, you need a little dopamine and oxytocin hit, the puppies are there for you.
Okay, I will try not to hog the puppies. So besides that, what are some of the key takeaways you hope the infectious disease community has when they leave this big event?
Yeah, so ID Week is always about collaboration and community. It's always about advancing science. But I really do think that we're at a critical moment in time for our specialty, you know, reminding us why we chose this specialty. It's about re-inspiring us, reinvigorating us, helping us remember the excitement and really that sense of possibility in the future that has always existed for us. It's time for us to look past the horizon a little bit to a future that I think is amazing for ID.
I think that is very inspiring. So thank you, Dr. Heather Young, for joining us, the chair of ID Week, and we look forward to a wonderful conference.
Thank you so much.
You can watch highlights from ID Week TV on screens at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. in select hotels. On the IDWeek meeting website. And of course, find, share, subscribe, and like on social media. I am now joined by Dr. Isaac Kohani, Chair of Biomedical Informatics at Harvard Medical School, to talk about artificial intelligence and infectious diseases. Doctor, thanks so much for being here. We are really in a remarkable time when it comes to AI and medicine. What are your thoughts?
I would say that we are, and what makes it very remarkable is it's not just doctors who've been exposed to these new tools, but it's our patients as well. ChatGPT was released to the general public. And so what we see is, yes, it can be useful for doctors, but right off the bat, we're seeing stories of patients who were not diagnosed, using themselves, just typing their own histories and getting diagnosis. So it's very, very exciting. It doesn't fit nicely into our current model of healthcare, and things will change as a result.
How do you think it will change in infectious diseases?
I think for the first time, we're going to be able to have a lot more data coming to the doctors. Previously, it was just the history that the doctors could take. Now, with these chat models, you can actually have the patient tell a lot more about the history, who else in the family got affected. So I think we'll have much more complete data about what happened when. And that gets always lost in the telephone game that you play when you go from doctor to doctor to doctor with the original family history. Here we can get it directly from the patient, and if we have these AI programs that are able just to look at all the data together and find those patterns, and find them early, that's going to accelerate the discovery process.
And so as we move forward, how do we ensure that AI in relation to all people and all infectious diseases is comparable?
So there's two issues. One is at the level of the United States, and the other level is globally. Globally, as you know, there's many infections which are not happening in the United States, like malaria is a huge killer, tuberculosis is a huge killer, so we should make sure that we actually get data that's worldwide to serve those purposes. Within the United States, the diseases, even the infectious diseases that we get in different socioeconomic strata, in different ethnic groups, will actually be different based on who their exposures are, based on their genetics, based on the foods that they eat. And so the only true guarantee to have that kind of fair representation and to make sure it works for everybody is to make sure that we have the data from all these different populations. But that requires that people like you put out the word that there is a need to contribute, and it should not come from researchers saying, thou shalt give your data. We really need the public to decide, I want to improve the quality of the AI, make it more equitable.
You have your work cut out for you.
We certainly do.
All right, Dr. Kohani, thank you so much for joining us from Harvard Medical School.
Thank you so much.
Now, the Center for Discovery and Innovation at Hackensack Meridian Health is translating discovery science in real time to address unmet medical needs with a focus on infectious diseases and cancer.
The Center for Discovery and Innovation was created as an academic-based translational research institute within Hackensack Meridian Health, which is the largest healthcare system in New Jersey. And it was established to be able to address unmet medical needs for patients with cancer and infectious diseases.
The CDI has experienced just remarkable growth. We've grown to 27 laboratories, all state-of-the-art. 180 scientists and staff have been recruited in just a short period of time. Dr. Perlin and his team now hold grants in excess of $175 million.
We identify a clinical problem and we bring to the table all the stakeholders and all of the people who can create solutions. That's our clinicians, our academic scientists, and industry partners, whether they be diagnostic companies, device manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies. Put them all in a common environment, a common ecosystem, and create the solution.
I'm now joined by IDWeek HIV MA Program Chair, Dr. Wendy Armstrong from Emory University to talk about workforce development in infectious diseases. Hello, Dr. Armstrong. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So what is the current state of the workforce?
There's a lot of discussion about the workforce in infectious disease right now, and there's a lot of hand-wringing about declining numbers of individuals pursuing infectious disease. If you look at the numbers, actually we're doing better than we have been over the past decade. And so we are attracting and recruiting more and more people into infectious disease. There's been a little bit of a decline in the past couple of years, but overall things are actually much rosier. Now that said, we need a lot more people in infectious disease, and 80% of counties in the United States do not have an infectious disease doctor.
Oh, wow.
So our position is good, but we need to improve it.
So how do you improve it?
It's a great question, and it's something a lot of us spend a lot of time thinking about. I think it's got to be a multi-pronged approach. One of them is, as trainees go through their medical training, their exposure to infectious disease is actually quite small. And they don't see the kinds of work that many of us do, that may be in public health, or maybe in the pharmaceutical industry, or maybe in global health, or in infection prevention. They see just the portions that they see on the wards on a daily basis. So one thing is exposing people to breadth. Another thing is exposing people, period. Not every resident has exposure to infectious disease. A third thing is improving our educational methods so that we excite people about what excites us about the field instead of having people just memorize microbiologic organisms. And then the last thing that I'll mention is that we need to improve, I think, our work-life balance so that we can project, again, a favorable look to our trainees.
So how do we increase the number of medical residents who are pursuing training in infectious diseases? You did mention, exposing them a little bit more, but since you're coming off COVID and this weariness, what do you do?
Yeah, so I think there are, again, a couple of things. One is we need to show our enthusiasm for the field. You will talk to several people, I'm sure, over the course of IDWeek, and you're going to see people who are so excited about this field that we've chosen and so fascinated by that, and we need to share that because it is an utterly fascinating, amazing way to spend a life. Another piece is we are a group of physicians who are very, very keyed into social justice issues and health equity issues, and because we've always treated tuberculosis and Hep C and HIV and those problems that really affect the globe, no matter what your socioeconomic standing is. And that is something trainees are really anxious to be part of, and they need to understand that that's part of ID. So we need to sell our specialty. We need to let people know how excited we are.
So in addition to that, how can physicians in their everyday workflow really get to trainees and inspire them to keep on going with infectious diseases?
Yeah, so that's what I tell people is seek out trainees, make a point of talking to them, let them come, invite them to see the other parts of your life, be positive, show how much you care. The studies show that it is positive relationships like that are the most impactful factor for trainees going into the specialty. And if you ask people along the way, you say, why did you go into ID? 50% of the time they say, this person. The other 50% of the time they say, a book or a film.
Right.
So.
Well, good luck inspiring folks are with us next week. Dr. Wendy Armstrong from Emory University, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Now, a look at UC Irvine School of Medicine's work to prevent infections and antibiotic-resistant pathogens in nursing homes.
I wanted to understand how multi-drug-resistant organisms, or MDROs, are spread between hospitals and nursing homes. The PROTECT trial was a 28 nursing home randomized trial that was federally funded and asked whether or not switching out routine bathing soap with an antiseptic soap called chlorhexidine and cleaning out the front of the nose so that bacteria would be removed by iodophore or a povidone iodine swab could reduce multi-drug-resistant organisms in the nursing home and also reduce hospitalizations. We found that chlorhexidine soap and nasal iodophore reduced multi-drug-resistant organisms by 30%. Even more remarkably, we found that it prevented almost 2 infection-related hospitalizations per month per 100-bed nursing home. Every day is a day that we can prevent infection and save lives. 'It's been an absolute privilege to work in this space.
Next up, mentorship is a key way of fostering new talent in the field of ID. At the 2023 IDSA Foundation's Mentorship Lunch, we caught up with mentees and the experienced ID professionals supporting them.
I thought about when I was coming up through training, the amazing mentors that I had in infectious diseases, and I thought this would be a great way to sort of give back.
Mentors have been where you want to be, and a lot of times when you look at mentors, you want to be like them in the future. You want to get to where they are faster than they did.
All of us have very unique experiences, and we want to be able to share those experiences and share the lessons we've learned from them with the next generation so they don't make the same mistakes that we did.
This is particularly important to me as a young woman. I'm also an international medical graduate, so there are certain hurdles that I really was able to overcome through this program.
As a woman in ID, I think there are more hurdles. I think a lot of it is sort of looking ahead and looking to role models, and I think it's really important to have I have had that and increasingly have that as my career moves on. And I think it's important to have role models of people who've had similar experiences, who might have similar challenges, similar balances in terms of other aspects of their life.
I think my mentor and I have very similar research interests, and I hope to learn from her and be able to eventually become an independent researcher on my own and an expert in my own field.
I think it's incredibly important to be able to both give back and help young investigators, students, trainees in their journey to think about ID, to think about the different ID career paths.
Once you're in training, it's like a little vacuum. You only see fellows from your own program. Getting to know people who are in other institutions is very cool, forming those connections, making friends.
I think for me, growing up, mentorship hasn't been a big thing, and I had to learn how to keep a mentor-mentee relationship, and I'm really excited about adding to my pool of mentors.
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be connected with mentors who have similar interests in research and who are able to support me, as I begin to shape my career as in academic medicine.
Our careers are a marathon, not a sprint, and so we keep on learning, and we hope to continue to convey that knowledge to the mentees going forward.
Prevention of infectious diseases, prevention of future pandemics is a public health priority for everyone, and really supporting sort of trainees and people interested in ID and trying to get more folks sort of into the field is really critical to our efforts to prevent future issues.
Now, how Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis is a national and global leader in infectious diseases research.
Washington University School of Medicine is a national leader in infectious diseases because of our excellence in delivering on our tripartite mission of clinical care, research, and training the next generation of physicians and scientists.
Infectious diseases is an incredibly dynamic specialty. One of the challenges is that you don't necessarily know what the issues are going to be tomorrow.
In research, Infectious Disease Division is really a global leader because of our dedication and commitment to the full arc of the research enterprise, from basic investigation to dissemination and implementation science.
That breadth makes us one of the strongest infectious disease divisions in the country, if not in the world.
What a day it has been here at ID Week. Join us tomorrow to celebrate 20 years of PrepFAR, a deep dive into severe malaria, as well as a look at ID Week's newest ID escape rooms and a special toast to innovators as we meet the IDEA Innovators of the Year. See you tomorrow.